Exactly.
Hi everyone, this is a very special co-working, and we're this month with Christoph Fahle from Fahle,
Fahle. Christoph Fahle.
Fahle, Fahle. Thank you. From One Co-working and betahaus. So betahaus was one of the first co-working space in Europe. He was a co-founder and CEO, and now he's the founder and CEO again of One Co-working, much bigger network, I understand, than was betahaus. Did I get that correct?
Yeah, I mean, Beta House was actually we operated a space or more, a couple of spaces, and one co-working is a
Hmm.
platform with other spaces. So
Mm.
it's easier for us to add a space. It's just a sign up button. When you build the space, it's like 1 year losing your mind and doing the planning and then hoping that enough people come quickly.
So a
So it's
different challenge, huh? Yeah, yeah.
very different thing, very different thing.
And betahaus, when did that start?
Um, I think the closest is to say 2009, because that's the moment we in the beginning of the year we opened our doors. But
You
we
know
were
what's in 2009 too? One of my favorite TED Talk from Simon Sinek about Start with Why. It's from 2010, 2009.
was a good year.
Good year. That's true. That's true. And at that time, co-working spaces weren't, well, I'd say today they're starting to get more attention, but in 2009, I just can't imagine. Why did you get that idea to open a space?
I think in the beginning we didn't even know it was called co-working. We were we were still going to university and slowly realizing that at some point when we finish it we have to think about our jobs and I think it was clear already back then, and the small revolution started, that people wanted to do their own thing, their own company, their own business.
Yeah.
And so the same with us, we wanted to create our own businesses. And the first problem was where should we go? Because now the university would not let us in anymore. So we
You were
started with
kicked out.
yeah, we started with that first thinking about the place we want to do it, and it's somehow we got stuck there. So we never started another business. So that was the first idea, and then of course when you look into this and you talk to many people, we got so many people who also said, "Oh wow, that's a good idea. We'll come to your place. Let's work there all
Yeah.
together, have a good coffee." Then it was
Yeah.
clear that we are onto something.
So snowball effect, you saw it was working, so you keep doing it. What was your goal at that time, to make it bigger, to make it specific for startup? Usually that's how a co-working space start. It's a startup. They don't have their own space, so they create some space, and it becomes a co-working space for startups. What was it similar to you?
Yeah,
For you?
I think even in the process of brainstorming for it, and also we did do focus groups with our friends. We realized that this is something bigger than only creating the office. So
Yeah.
we did rent a much bigger space than we originally thought. So it was already clear that this is a major operation. 2,000 square meters in Kreuzberg in Berlin. It was the biggest, and I think the archetypes or the spaces that we saw in the US, which was there were already more that were having the name co-working. They were always quite small because of the high real estate cost. And in
Yeah.
Berlin, you could rent a huge, basically a factory, which was empty, and we could put desks in there. So it quickly became something that was some more than just a means to an end. So we also the media attention we got, it was crazy because there was always
Really.
a camera team every we were spoiled a lot. um, Somehow, it was this time where the financial crisis also hit the year before, and
Yeah.
there were a lot of topics around the internet revolution. So the media was always coming to us and trying to describe this new phenomenon, freelancer
Mm.
startups, or also where do people go that have no jobs anymore? They come to
Yeah.
Beta, start their own
A
company.
successful story after the big crisis from
Mhm.
2008. And would
So
you say Berlin was the right place to start this because you were talking about real estate price too?
yeah, I think in no other city or big metropole in the world would we have had the confidence to rent a big building. I think Adam Newman a year later had to raise millions to have the first space in New York, and we did it with money from the grandmother.
Thank you, Grandma.
And she didn't have much. She wasn't rich, you know.
Poor Grandma. She didn't know what she got into.
Mm-mm.
And how did that evolve until I think you were working still in. Are you still working in Betahaus today?
Yeah, I mean today actually
Hmm.
because it's closer to my
Today?
home. Today, I did go to a space formerly called Hard Space, which is now called Charlie, recently rebranded, and it was closer to my home when I needed a quick place to record this podcast with you. But usually every other day I go to Beta House, and my dear friend and co-founder Madeleine is still the
Mm,
managing director. I see her many
mm.
times, and I'm also a little. Of course, I care for it. It's my first company, my baby. It should.
Oh, it's a baby.
Yes, it has to be. I have to visit it sometimes.
Mm. And how did that baby grow up today? How is it?
Mm. Look, we had so many different times and periods. So I think the first
Mm.
time my accountant called me back many years ago, and I think it was
Yeah.
2011. He called me and said, Christoph, if you do not to change something, you have to file for bankruptcy in the next 3 weeks. And so then, but there were also big wins when we opened more locations. And today, I think Betas is in a really good place. We have many locations. But also, less than a year ago, we went through a bankruptcy because of COVID, and we had to close a location.
Yes.
And it was very tough because
Hmm.
we are not financed by investors. I mean, most of the money will be got ourselves or borrowed from the bank, and so it was really
Wow.
hard to close it again because it was so much work that we put
Yeah.
into this
The
location.
sunk cost, you can feel them.
Yeah, I spent so many hours thinking where the desk should go and the walls, and then suddenly, goodbye.
Yeah, yeah. One of the previous guests, she started her co-working space 2 months before COVID hit, and she had to close too. So it's always a shock when those kind of things happen, whatever kind of crisis. Uh, yeah, because there's a lot in the game.
Yeah,
Mm,
I mean, it was we all the founders had guarantees for
mm,
the bank. That is
mm.
really a real thing when you know that you will owe the money if the company goes bankrupt.
And right now, how many spaces is there at Beta House in total?
I have to think.
Do
So
you
we have,
know?
yeah, I mean, I
Can you
barely
count?
remember the name of my kids. So no, so I we have one in Berlin,
After
two in,
grandma, it's the kids.
two in Hamburg, and then there is two more in Sofia in Bulgaria. Then there's one in Barcelona, and now the manager and founder of the Beta Sofia, they opened two more spaces in Bucharest. So it's still growing, and actually, I think the next years there will be even more beta houses. But I
Wow.
can watch it from far,
Yeah.
and
Now you don't have to stress about it anymore. Uh, but yeah, it's not just a German story. Now it's all across Europe.
yeah, I mean, yes, the reason we did that, and I think back then it was kind of a stupid idea. We really, the we really believed that, or we were convinced that co-working is doesn't mean having one location in one
Mm,
place somewhere. It
mhm,
means this is a worldwide phenomenon, and we are going to be part of this network, and we're going to do and operate workspaces together with people all around the
mhm,
world, and this is the future infrastructure of how we will work, right? And so the early days of betas consisted of many people coming to us and asking us how we do this, what the business model is like, and we really had a big joy in helping them setting up locations. And that's how our other locations came into place. It was people that
Yeah.
really liked our concept and would say, let's do it together. And that's how Betahaus Barcelona came to be, Betahaus Sofia came to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we
Crazy.
were not, if you compare it to WeWork, it was not we didn't ever had the idea to have a scaling business model that works really well. Then we multiply it and put it
Mm-mm.
everywhere, and we use invested money. I don't. It's not. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's just for us. It was the
Different.
motivation was with the people and doing it together somehow.
Yeah, but that was before Beta House. Like you were saying, now you can see it from afar, enjoy it, and don't have to worry about it anymore. Today is about also a network of co-working with one co-working, which, like you were saying before, is not a space, it is a platform, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it was something that came up during my time at Beta House when I
Mm,
already saw digital nomads and people who would be traveling between, including me. I love to go to other co-working spaces.
yes.
So I did a big world trip in 2015, and wherever I went until New Zealand, there were awesome co-working spaces. And I just went there and said hello, and it was amazing because immediately there was a community. And it
Mm,
was my initial idea was like, okay, I have to do something with that because currently it's of course people like OGs like me, we all know exactly how we can roam around the world, we meet all the other co-working founders, but it's somehow not easy enough. And then I started one co-working as like a side project. So you could
mm,
just go to Beta House, but you can also
mhm.
go to other co-working spaces in Berlin. Um, and it
What was the reaction? I guess you were still working at Beta House and you had talk with other co-working managers in Berlin. What was the thinking about that kind of project?
Um, everybody in theory liked this idea very much, but in practice, it was not a big part of their business or what they think about every day. It was not on the list of
Mm,
things,
no.
and I was very in love with the idea, so I pushed for it, and in the end, they all joined, or many of them, and we did this great experiment in 2016 where if you were a member of Beta House or St. Oberholz or Ahoy or many other locations in Berlin that are co-working spaces, we would accept each other's members, you know?
Ooh.
And then we would afterwards make the calculation, see
Yes.
if anybody lost, but nobody did because it was not, it was kind of a nice exchange.
Yeah.
And then,
Wasn't anyone scared about losing people or those kind of thing?
yeah,
Like
but
we're competitors, but now we're partners. It's kind of a U-turn, right?
yeah, in a way, yes. But people find their
Mm,
co-working space earlier or later, and they leave the ones that they don't like. It's like,
true.
it's a natural movement, and it will happen anyway. So we might as well open the doors. Um, and that was the beginning. Although today is a whole different story because this is the exact feature that companies now need for their employees. Because if you're a big company
Mm,
that have people everywhere now, remote workers, hybrid workers, it's a perfect tool to make this work. You can put them on the one co-working platform, and then they can go. A 4 people team in Stockholm goes to a co-working space in Stockholm, or one person in Mallorca can go there if needed, and they can put their own offices in there, the team, the company headquarters, and then you have a really nice, easy way to work. The future of work is like really flexible and distributed.
yeah.
Looks a lot
Yeah.
like co-working.
And close to home with a lot of different people doing different things. So you can get different vibes, different energy, and maybe not the whole team there or not the whole company there, but just a bit. That's already happening with some company. I heard some co-workings, they're not big enough to host a world big company, but they're big enough to have a world team of like 15 or 30 people. And so the team would get into the co-working and get that fresh air. That's why I like
Yeah,
working in co-working spaces.
that as well. Like, so we have. I mean, the HR managers that we work with, they always, most of them, they're really excited about the fact that their employees can also participate in community events.
Mm.
because it makes them really happy, motivates them. So there's lots of aspects about this. But I want to say one thing, because
Yeah.
it's it's not about making an app to book desks, or it's like, that's boring. It's the what we are all doing together, even with the co-working spaces,
Yeah.
and I hope they join and like this idea, is to build an ecosystem for work, or for people,
Mm.
choosing their own way of working, a platform, but a global one that can be used for a very flexible way of working. And
Mm.
that's the idea, the notion, to do it
And that
together.
was, yeah, that was in your description on LinkedIn, because so I didn't know what one co-working was, and then we talked together, so I knew it was a platform where you could book a co-working. But then I went to take more information, and on I believe the LinkedIn page, because I'm always on LinkedIn. Uh, I see it's for hybrid, flexible work. Nothing about booking a desk like you were talking about. So it's something bigger than just.
Yeah, it's like you have
Mm,
you need to be able to book a desk in the end, but this is just a tool. The idea is
this is a what? Hmm.
to create a global ecosystem of future
Yes.
of work, and it's.
And practically today, how does that look like? Do you work with a co-working manager to create some kind of community, co-working community between co-working spaces, or
So this is kind of secret still,
you don't
but
have to say
I can.
whatever you want to say.
No,
It's
no,
secret
I
sauce. I
can,
get it.
I can. So first of all, it is extremely complicated to get everything working together. Just to
It is.
manage with, we have 350 locations, just to be able that they know about us, and that
And where are they? Are they only in Europe or all over the world, or?
they're all around the world. We always add the spaces where we know that there are people that want to use it, and
Mm,
so the what I wanted to say, what we are working on, is
yes.
we want to get work together more with the workspaces, and
Mm-hmm.
this is not so easy because they're so busy with the day-to-day business. And I know it for
Mm-hmm.
myself. You don't care about the 150th workplace platform that calls you and wants to onboard you, right? But I think what we're trying to do is we try to involve them more into our success in the future. So
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to find a way to work closer with them on a daily basis, and that is the area what next in the beginning of next year we will have a big announcement on that. And I'm really that's the whole reason we are doing this. It's not,
It's not to talk about why you started or this. It's because in January, do you have a date already or someday in January?
No, like, I think during the January we do some tests, and in the end of the day, how awesome would it be if we could build something that is more like the WeWork, but it's built from the bottom up by the individual co-working spaces. It's a really,
Interesting.
it's a big goal. We have to go in small steps, but I think that would be it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, wow. That's so incredible, because even I'm just thinking about if you have co-working, if you have spaces from all over the world, they have different way of doing things, they have different goals. Some are more about community, some are more about scalability, all kind of things. And I see more and more. So yeah, that's a good question. I see more and more online co-working spaces. So they're doing co-working together, but they don't have a physical space. But that's not something you're working on, right? You're only doing on site.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, this is basically, you work from home, but you meet virtually, right? No, but this is,
Hmm.
I mean, I find it super interesting. And the one thing that we have in mind with a partner company is we want to create a virtual co-working space inside our app, which so
Yes.
you can do a check-in, but it's more like it's just an experiment to have the possibility.
So
Um,
you do a lot of experimentation about new ideas.
yeah, but only one thing at a time, right?
One thing at a time. That's my sentence. Otherwise, it's and you end up not doing it, not finishing anything.
Exactly.
And so that's one co-working today or
Mhm.
in January. What
Mhm.
are your next steps for like? next year or the next 3 years or
Yeah,
whatever?
I think so. What we right now we are doing this kind of professionally with companies now for a year. We have 20 companies that are really awesome that are using our service on a daily basis,
Hmm.
and we want to work with them and the co-working spaces, of course, and big and small. We also have the big networks, the small spaces. We have the co-ops. We're just very inclusive. We want to find a way to make our product and our offering better. And one of the things is to make it for the co-working space. It's really annoying to get a lot of request emails for meeting room
Mm,
bookings for a
mm,
day, whatever that is. And the community manager has always to click confirm, put it in the calendar. So I think we want to be better in integrating with some, for
mm.
instance, platforms like Cobalt or Office R&D and or Nexodus.
Yes.
Mm, and yeah, so making it easier for the co-working spaces, but also for
Automatization.
yeah, for but if you think about companies, it's really for them some is a different thing like an individual to coordinate to meet
Mm,
at the co-working space. There's stuff that the normal co-worker doesn't need that the company needs, right? And this is the other thing that we try to explore a little more. So to make the journey from a simple desk booking app to something that is creating an ecosystem for work. Um, and not forgetting our roots in the co-working movement that we come from. So that's kind of the challenge, and that's the steps for the next
yeah,
next year.
because it's a big difference working, like you were saying, managing a space with all the struggles that go with it, and now online platform. It's totally two. It's the same space because you're still in co-working industry, but it's two different job.
Yeah, exactly. No, it is really um, funny how quickly you forget about how it is to operate a space if you're on the platform side.
You forgot everything.
Yeah, I forget everything, not only co-working, but
I'm bad at memorizing too. I live with my Trello. Everything is on Trello. If it's not on Trello, it's not gonna get done because it's not exist. It doesn't exist.
yeah, yeah, I have different Trellos that I always move. It's a different story. No,
I
sure.
feel you there. I feel you there. I was wondering, have you ever regretted moving from managing a space and being with all the community or the energy there to being maybe more alone now? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I think
Mm,
if the first I have to say, building up betahaus was beautiful and joyful, but also very exhausting. And I have at some point in this career I had to have enough because I didn't want to fix the internet
mm,
anymore. Back then it was like this, didn't want to
yes.
receive a call from a customer who is stuck in the elevator and at the weekend at night. And so I was really like, okay, I'm over it. I don't want to do anything with co-working, or at least I don't want to manage a
Mm,
space. Now I slowly I think a hobby. I could. I would love
a nice
to.
hobby.
I think we have a little. I go to Portugal, the south of Portugal a lot, and there's
Mm,
definitely there's no co-working space. And I was like, maybe I could help build one with some other people, a really nice one for holiday goers. And I
mm,
still really enjoy, meeting the people every day and knowing their stories, making friends
mm,
is for I like it. I could
yeah,
not get enough of it, and this is different. My team in one co-working is totally remote. We meet many times per year, and I really what I enjoy most, for instance, we have this customer chat, and so when somebody using the co-working app has a problem being in some co-working space, or whatever, it's super funny because I'm always reading it. And sometimes when I know, okay, he's in front of the door in Dresden and I know this guy who runs the space, I'm like, okay, let me take this over. I try to help with the problem. Maybe I call the founder of the space if there's some problem. And I really miss the interaction directly with the
yeah,
people.
yeah.
So I think what you ask is true. I miss it a little bit.
Well, maybe you'll go back at it again. You'll see, as a hobby.
As a pensioner, I will have like a
As a
pensioner
pension.
co-work, local pensioner co-working.
I think that's amazing. I heard a course, so the next guest I think is doing an online co-working for 40 plus. So people who are getting close to the pension or are aging and don't have the same energy as only for women. I'm so sorry, I
No,
cannot refer you.
I'm. That's funny. I'm 42, so I'm actually getting close to being pensioner. Okay.
Does your back hurt?
No,
Because
no,
it's
no.
starting.
It's starting. Yes. Okay. Yes. No, but it's true that I think it will be very different for us being
Hmm.
older than my parents don't know anything about co-working. They maybe these days
I
they have.
don't even try to explain anymore.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. But I have to say something. My
Hmm. Hmm.
in my hometown where my parents live, there's now something like a co-working space, and I think it arrived 2 3 years ago, and I think
Mm.
that has already. My mom is also using WhatsApp, so maybe she can still go there
Ah,
and convert and change.
who knows? Who knows? I'm thinking. Maybe my mom, but my dad, he's lost. He's trying to get a smartphone now and using it because he's
Yeah.
always going through my stepmom's WhatsApp, and so call my stepmom to get my dad because I know she will. Anyway.
Okay. A lot of work.
Everybody their own routines, their own flaws, their own little cumbersome ways.
Yes.
Okay, well, Christoph, it's almost the end. Is there anything you would like to add?
That's a really good question. Is there any, there's a I couldn't talk 1 more hour about this. I think I think in the end of the day, and I wanted to emphasize
Mm,
this 1 more time, we we talk so much about the COVID crisis and how this is the reason for everybody, flexible work booming.
yes.
Um, but the reality is, this is a trend that has been going on for much longer, and it's
Mm-hmm.
the foundation is that human beings want to have autonomy, want to decide what they do on their own. They want to do their own company. They want to decide where they want to work. And I think it's important to realize that this is what we're working on. It's not a solution for something that happened during the COVID crisis, right? And it's bigger,
It's bigger.
and so it's
But
also more fun to work on that.
it's interesting because you can see the trend. I think Google Trends of keywords that were used on Google, and remote working was like this. So it was going up, up, up. And then COVID happened, stopped, and it's still going up. But what COVID had as an effect, more awareness, a lot of good things did happen. But anyways, remote work evolution, I would say, was ongoing. It's still ongoing. It never stopped. Mm.
Yeah, and it's because of the people they want to have more freedom. That's it. That's as easy as it is.
Yeah,
And everything
and
else is
maybe
just a consequence. So
yeah,
it's easy.
more freedom. Lovely. Well, Christoph, thank you so much for being here, for talking to us about Beta House and One Coworking. Uh, Maybe is there a specific place where we can find the best information about One Coworking?
Yeah,
Your
sure.
website, social
Thank
media?
you. The website is just www.onecoworking.com, and betahaus is
Yes.
betahaus.com. And also you can reach me on LinkedIn or on Twitter as well. But you just put in my name, you will find a way to contact me.
Yeah, and I can put the link in the comment below, so it's easy.
Perfect. Thank you very
Amazing.
much, Fanny.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.